The UN paints a grim picture for the world in a new climate report.
Possible goals for us as a state of Utah to talk about.
What about here at home? Why scientists say the trends they're seeing are alarming, but there are ways we can affect change.
They really go far down deep in the lung.
Breathing toxic air is bad for your health and you can't get away from it, but you can make a difference inside your home. We'll show you how.
Coming up, your air quality forecast with how long this smoke will stick around, plus a chance for some flash flooding. I'll let you know where we have that threat coming up.
Rebuilding and coming together after flash floods devastate a Utah community.
Impossible to plan for.
We got to survival mode.
Tonight, how those who lost so much are helping each other with what they have left.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9, starts right now.
Tonight, air quality in Utah is ranging from good in the south to unhealthy in the east, and the smoke isn't expected to clear for a couple more days.
Bad air, a year-round fire season, and worsening drought all connect back to climate change. And tonight, an international nonpartisan study commissioned by the United Nations is placing the blame for the climate crisis on humans.
How exactly is Utah affected by climate change, and what can be done about it?
Fox 13's John Franke took an in-depth look at some of the trends that are alarming Utah scientists. He has the latest tonight from Capitol Hill.
This summer here in Utah, we've seen drought, extreme flooding, and scorching hot temperatures. Conditions that one scientist at Utah State University says may not seem so unusual in the future.
If we continue on the track that we're on, this summer, temperature-wise and sort of extreme weather-wise, is going to be one of the milder summers for the rest of our lives.
That is Robert Davies, an associate professor of physics at Utah State University. He combed through the panel on climate change report. His initial thoughts:
it's saying what the previous 5 reports have said, issued since 1990. It's saying it louder, and it's saying it with more precision.
The data shows the Earth is warming at a rate faster than it has in centuries. Here's a chart from the report. It shows the decade of 2011 to 2020 saw global surface temperature 1.1 degrees Celsius, or about 2 degrees Fahrenheit higher than what was recorded between 1850 and 1900. Professor Davies shared an example from Utah to illustrate how temperatures are shifting to the hot side.
In Tooele, for example, throughout the entire 20th century, there were 4 days above 103 degrees. From 2001 to 2010, Tooele had 28 days.
That's summer. What about winter?
As the temperature warms, you can expect more of our wintertime precipitation to come as rain instead of snow.
So all that mountain snow Utahns love, Davies says that too is not immune from the impact of global warming.
In Park City, since 1970, Park City has lost 6 weeks worth of days in which it could snow. 6 weeks of days in which the low temperature no longer goes below 32 degrees.
Back in 2019, the Utah legislature commissioned a report called the Utah Roadmap. It was completed in 2020 by the Kem C. Gardner Institute at the University of Utah. It recommended goals for policymakers to address pollution and global warming in our state.
Great set of possible goals for us as a state of Utah to talk about.
State Representative Joel Briscoe has run several bills advocating for even more environmentally friendly policies. He believes lawmakers need to do more and do it now.
I don't see a critical mass of decision makers or policymakers in Utah who are interested in talking about how to help Utah deal with the climate change that is happening to us right now.
It's a discussion Professor Davies believes needs to happen quickly. Inaction could mean more drought or more flooding, a Utah that seems unrecognizable.
For a given amount of additional temperature change, we can expect even bigger impacts than we had thought we would see even a decade ago.
So what are some things that we can all do to stop the impact of climate change? Professor Davies says that transportation, how we eat, and how we heat and cool ourselves are all things that add to our carbon footprint, but he says the real impact will come from here, with lawmakers willing to make some significant changes. On the Hill, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Utah crews will arrive in Northern California tomorrow to help fight the devastating Dixie Fire there. 5 fire engines and 22 crew members with a new task force will work shifts of up to 16 hours at a time or more. They're providing relief to overworked crews. This is the 4th out-of-state mission for Utah firefighters this year. The air pollution from wildfires is even more toxic than what we breathe during winter inversion.
Well, that's because the particulates in smoke are finer. And with that in mind, Fox 13's Max Roth looks at the best ways to make the air in your home safer.
Free.
Yes!
And really effective.
Bravo!
Close your windows. Simple enough. When the air outside is bad, don't invite it in. When the air is good outside, open them back up because outdoor air is most often healthier. Almost free and helpful. Mop the floor and wash your sheets a little more often. Eventually, even smoke particles leave the air. They settle on the floor and on our beds. Use a damp mop to clean the floor because a broom or a vacuum can kick all that smoke back up. If your clothes smell smoky, don't keep them on. Another word for a smell is particulate. Cheap and really effective. Get help from MERV. MERV stands for Minimum Efficiency Reporting Value. It's how much an air filter will filter the air. Normally, any old MERV rating is fine, but in bad air, go crazy and buy a $10 filter. The New York Times consumer site Wirecutter recommends a MERV rating at 12 or higher. More costly, but quite helpful, a Hepa Air Purifier. HEPA's like MERV. It means high-efficiency particulate air filter. Both Wirecutter and Consumer Reports have tested purifiers for years, and they find a good one, used in the right size room, takes almost every particle out of the air. Both sites agree on another thing. If you see an ad talking about new technology that's better, don't believe it. The best purifiers are essentially fans that blow air through HEPA filters. A good one for a large room runs between $150 and $300. A small room purifier can be $100 or less. Very expensive and effective.
Okay.
New windows if you need them. But cheaper, some DIY work to seal up the drafty spots. On the purifiers, if your home has a good central system, then a great filter may be all you need. If you don't, a purifier could probably be worth it, especially if someone sensitive is in your household. Then you want to focus on those places where they spend the most time. In the newsroom, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Boy, we're talking about wildfires and climate change and all of this stuff. We'd just like to get rid of all that smoke out there.
And that's a tall order, Bob, especially for southern Utah where that smoke will be heading here in a couple of days. Here's your smoke analysis across the country. As you can see, northern Utah has some of the worst of it right now. So we have quite a bit of smoke in the northern half of the state, quite a bit better into southern Utah, but that wind will be shifting over the next couple of days. For today, we've had a southwesterly flow in southern Utah. That's why it's been nice, and we've had more clear air. Had a few lightning strikes in the eastern Uintas, but temperatures today weren't too bad. 80 currently for Salt Lake, 77 for Provo, 96 in St. George right now. When you wake up tomorrow morning, we will have more haze. It'll be a hazy sunshine, though, 65 degrees at 7 a.m. and by 9 a.m., 71 degrees. But your top weather headlines on this Monday night, the smoky sky continues. We also have a chance for some storms in southern Utah, and they're really going to heat up this week. So temperatures close to 100 degrees, maybe even some flash flooding concerns. I'll let you know where coming up in the full forecast.
This was such a devastation that it's something that you can never imagine that would rock your world.
It's been 8 days since parts of Utah were badly damaged by extreme weather, and tonight homes, especially in hard-hit Enoch, are in need of repair.
Governor Spencer Cox joined local leaders along with residents in Iron County today to not only see the damage, but also see how neighbors have really worked together.
Fox 13's Brian Schnee shows the progress they've made.
It's been more than a week since heavy rain rolled through Iron County, flooding the streets of Enoch.
Isolated areas of Enoch that were receiving 5 to 6 inches in an hour.
As of Monday, 320 homes have reported damage to the city.
At this point, we're well over probably 50 tons of material have been taken out of homes, and It's going to be a long process. I mean, you're talking 300 homes that will need to be remediated and restored and helped.
The mayor standing alongside Governor Spencer Cox, who visited the area on Monday.
In some places, about half their annual rainfall in 40 minutes is impossible to plan for.
The governor came to Iron County to speak with local officials and residents about the devastation and the cleanup.
It was a direct hit, and then we started seeing the videos with social media. The videos were almost immediate, and just walls of water that were washing through the towns, roads that weren't roads anymore, that were more like rivers.
Since the day where roads became rivers, residents turned to one another for help.
My basement we can't even walk down into. We had to remove the steps that even got sewer water onto them.
We got to a point of where the sewage was coming up so bad that all we were doing was hauling my photos up. We got to survival mode.
Neighbors from near.
So we were busy during the hailstorm out there bucketing out the windows.
And complete strangers from afar have come to Enoch to help over the last week, trying to help each other rebuild.
Our hearts break. We feel a tremendous sense of empathy, but people are stepping up to help, and that's what's been amazing. There's a role for government to play, but we need the private sector and the faith-based sector and the nonprofit sector to step up, and they have.
Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
These results are very encouraging. They emphasize that these truly are an important tool.
A therapy being used at Intermountain Healthcare hospitals could be a game changer when it comes to tackling the pandemic. We'll explain why.
One of Utah's native tribes may soon turn to medical cannabis. The reasons tribal leaders are looking toward this business model in a Fox 13 exclusive.
The good news is there are fewer cows stopping traffic on this cattle drive. I'll tell you why that's the bad news, too.
The new jazz player spoke for the first time. Coming up, we'll hear from Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside on why they chose to play for the Jazz.
Tonight, crews are searching for an overdue boater at Strawberry Reservoir in Wasatch County. Video from a Fox 13 News viewer shows a helicopter in the area. The same viewer said the north end of the reservoir was blocked off with state boats. Wasatch County authorities confirmed they are searching. No other details are available at this point, and crews were starting to pack up for the night. We will bring you any updates on the air and online at fox13now.com.
Well, the head of the Utah chapter of Black Lives Matter has left the state and has stepped down. Outspoken activist Lex Scott was criticized recently for calling the American flag, quote, a symbol of hatred. Since those remarks, Scott claims she's been receiving death threats. But despite all of that happening, she looks back on her time here in Utah, and she says that she knows that the group has made a big difference.
We have successfully changed policies within school districts. We have successfully changed policies within the government in Utah. And I'm very proud of what we have accomplished here. And we're not done, right?
Scott said on social media that Ray Duckworth will succeed her as the leader of Black Lives Matter Utah.
6 people died on Utah roads over the weekend. One of them was a 26-year-old woman who had just gotten married 7 hours earlier. UHP troopers say Angelica Dondup was in a vehicle that was hit by a suspected drunk driver going the wrong way on I-15 early Saturday. Today, Angelica's family tried to put into words the incredible pain they are going through. Her new husband and high school sweetheart could barely talk.
And they took her. And I want to know why. I know people are normally like, it happened so fast, but it literally did. We were just talking, and before we realized it was too late, we were hit.
UHP Colonel Mike Rapich says there have already been 179 fatal crashes in Utah this year. Switching gears, the drought is causing issues for Utah ranchers.
Today, Fox 13's Brian Champagne caught up with a cattle drive in Cache County to find out how bankers are helping out.
It's cattle drive time in Logan Canyon with locals and hired hands.
I've been out of Eastern Oregon lately, a bit of a saddle tramp. I just run around on the back of a horse and buckaroo for whoever pays that year.
They're pushing cattle 5 miles up the road from Temple Fort, but they're pushing fewer this year.
Big bosses say it's as dry as they've seen it in 60 years. They cut numbers intentionally before they ever put cattle out.
It doesn't seem to cause as much stress in Logan Canyon
I think it's cool to see them do it. It's nice to know there's still some old-fashioned things happening.
as it does in downtown Logan.
The lack of grass has caused people to either have to go further or progress through their pasture cycle quicker.
Cache Valley Bank does about 20% of their loans in agriculture. Guys like Mike Miller visit ranches to check on their living collateral.
We've seen water levels in lots of places that normally have springs that have been running for generations that have become dry this year.
You're yielding less hay and consequently having to go buy hay where you normally don't have to buy hay, or buying more hay than you normally would buy.
And when ranchers have to pay more for feed, it's harder to pay the bank.
Stretching out loans, trying to provide relief where needed.
Smaller herd, smaller supply, prices go up. But then it might make it more feasible to use the more expensive feed. There are just too many factors at play here. Miller says some ranchers have so much invested in the genetics of their herd, they'll pay the higher feed prices, while others will let their herd go.
We believe in them to do the best they possibly can do by themselves and by their operation, and before they even come and talk to us.
They say they're handling loans case by case.
This is as new of an economic time, I think, as any of us have seen.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Brian's story reminds me of Rawhide with Rowdy Yates. You're too young.
I vaguely remember that theme song.
Clint Eastwood and Rowdy Yates
that's
back
right.
in the day. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this smoke, Allison. I was hoping the weekend, when that smoke rolled in last week, the weekend would dissipate it. Not the case. Here comes another work week with more smoke.
Yes, so we started things off very smoky today. We've had some very colorful sunset pictures. The sun was so interesting this afternoon because it was so hazy out there, and it was disappearing in some parts because of the clouds, but you couldn't see the clouds. It was a really unique experience looking at that this afternoon. But air quality for the Salt Lake Valley just updated from Purple Air. It's about moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups, but much worse up in Park City. Look at that. That's a place people usually like to go to escape winter inversions, but when it comes to wildfire season, there's no escaping it. Into Utah County, lots of orange dots. That's unhealthy for sensitive groups. Then in southwestern Utah, good air, and then bigger picture, eastern Utah, that's where we have some of our worst air right now. Lots of red dots, and that's unhealthy across the board. So this was Antelope Island tonight, a gorgeous picture taken by Chris Williams. So the only good thing these fires have going for them is pretty sunsets and sunrises. So here's our storm setup. In northern Utah, behind a front, we've mixed out some of the surface smoke, but we still have a lot of smoke higher in the atmosphere. We had a southwesterly flow in southern Utah this afternoon, and so we had more clear air across southern Utah. The cameras looked pretty decent down there, but temperatures here across the state, it's still hot in St. George at 96 degrees. Here in Salt Lake, it's 80 degrees currently, a perfect 77 for Provo. It's just hard to get out and enjoy it when we've got air quality like what we do right now. Wind fairly light here across the state, satellite and radar. A pretty dry day. We will have a better chance for some showers and thunderstorms for southern Utah tomorrow. But Salt Lake, when you wake up, mid-60s, 71 degrees at 9 a.m. We'll have that sunshine, but it'll be a hazy sunshine. And then our storm threat for tomorrow, the chance for some thunderstorms in far southern Utah. Now off to our east over towards Chicago, there is an enhanced risk for severe weather. We're just in the thunderstorm category for tomorrow. However, a few of these storms will have the capability of producing some brief heavier rainfall. I think the most likely scenario would be we start seeing that in southern Utah near Zion National Park about 7:30 tomorrow night. So morning hikes should be fine, but I would pay attention to the recreation outlook. I'll show that to you later in the hour, what areas will be most at risk for flash flooding. Overnight temps will be about 50 degrees in Park City, 60 to 70 for the Wasatch Front, St. George about 80 degrees tomorrow morning. And then by tomorrow afternoon, Wasatch Front around 90, Price 90, Vernal 89, Kanab 89, St. George near 100 degrees tomorrow. Now for Salt Lake County, the air quality forecast for tomorrow and Wednesday continues with mandatory action and also the orange level, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. Southern Utah, St. George, your low 100s the next couple of days. It'll be a pretty hot 7-day forecast, especially by Saturday as those temperatures rise. And we'll climb also here in Salt Lake close to 100 degrees as we end the week. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hit 100 degrees later this week, which would be our I think 20th time this year, and the record is 21 triple-digit days. So we're very close to that. Coming up later in the hour, your flash flood forecast for tomorrow, and also I'll show you a smoke forecast map for the next couple of days.
Thanks, Allison. It's a move that's all about accountability. Still ahead, see what officers at the University of Utah are doing to reinforce trust with students and the public.
And if you want to wear the uniform, you'll have to get the shot. Why the Pentagon says all members of the U.S. military must be vaccinated for COVID-19. Welcome back, everyone. University of Utah police officers now have a new piece of equipment when they're out patrolling campus. Officers are now equipped with body cameras. The department hopes the cameras will promote accountability, increase public trust, and also provide additional evidence for all investigations. Recordings will be stored in a secured cloud-based system. Only the officer who recorded the video and their supervisors will be able to view it.
Dozens of wild horses are now roaming free in Tooele County after the Bureau of Land Management released them this morning. This was part of the BLM's Aniki Mountain Herd Management Program. Today's release came 1 month after the BLM rounded up nearly 300 wild horses in an effort to control their population.
Coming up after the break.
At just 52 years old, a southern Utah man has died from COVID-19. The message from his widow.
What we found was very encouraging.
As COVID-19 cases surge in Utah, there's an effective treatment, and it's not the vaccine.
TJ Pledger's hopes for big things with the Utes this fall, plus the Jazz free agencies speak for the first time.
Just telling me, hello, ma'am, are you okay?
This woman fainted while hiking in Arches National Park. Then she woke up to the sound of a familiar voice. Coming up.
It's been almost 2 months tomorrow since he passed away. And it's very hard, very emotional.
Jennifer Long's husband, Kenneth, is one of more than 2,500 Utahns who have died from COVID-19.
Now she wants to encourage others to get the vaccine that could have saved her husband's life.
She spoke to Fox 13's Sydney Glenn today.
When Jennifer Long's husband, Kenneth, tested positive for COVID-19, she could have never guessed the outcome.
They did not expect it so fast. We thought it would get better.
He wasn't feeling well, so she says she took him to the hospital. He went home and then got worse.
2 days later, he told me I can't breathe, I can't walk. So I took him back to the emergency room.
Then, at just 52 years old, he ended up like this, in the ICU alone and sick. Long says she wishes her husband had gotten the vaccine, and she knows he did too.
I know you regretted it. You wanted to get a vaccinated, but you never had a chance.
Long says losing him has been horrible, especially like this.
And it's been almost 2 months tomorrow since he passed away. And it's really hard, very emotional.
Now his memory lives on as Long and her children try to pick up the pieces.
He always helping other people, and he's the kind that I to serve others.
She hopes the story will inspire others.
It's really, really hard to lose someone like that.
Long also tested positive for COVID-19 just 2 days after her husband was hospitalized. Luckily, she says she only had mild symptoms. She thanks the vaccine for that. She hopes this story will inspire others. In Salt Lake City, Sydney Glenn, Fox 13 News, Utah.
More than 2,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported in Utah over the weekend. 9 more Utahns have lost their lives to the virus. There is a silver lining, however, to these numbers. The 7-day positivity rate has gone down very slightly to 14.4%.
Now, as for vaccines, over 18,000 more doses have been administered since Friday's report. More than 7,000 additional Utahns are now fully vaccinated. As hospitals fill with COVID-19 patients, Intermountain Healthcare is now highlighting an effective treatment that prevents severe symptoms and even hospitalization.
Fox 13's Haley Higgins shows us why it's important to get tested as early as possible if you start to have symptoms.
What we found was very encouraging.
Keeping high-risk Utahns with COVID-19 out of the hospital. That's the target for monoclonal antibody therapy.
These results are very encouraging. They emphasize that these truly are an important tool.
Monoclonal antibodies are laboratory-made proteins that help the immune system attack COVID-19. A new Intermountain Healthcare study found high-risk patients who received the treatment were 57% less likely to go to the hospital. Monoclonal antibody treatments are most effective on unvaccinated patients when transfused soon after symptoms start.
And they work best when given very early on in the symptom course when the impact of the virus is at its greatest.
3 monoclonal antibody treatments were approved by the FDA in December. One has been administered here in Utah to roughly 600 people. In Salt Lake City, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Starting next month, the Pentagon will require members of the U.S. military get the COVID-19 vaccine. According to the Pentagon, a fully vaccinated fighting force is necessary to maintain military readiness. The mandate would take effect September 15th or sooner if the FDA gives full approval to the vaccine. Those military members who do not want the shot would likely have to seek a waiver.
After being closed to non-essential travel for more than a year, Canada is reopening for American tourists. But the tourists have to prove they've been vaccinated and have 2 negative test results. The Canada Border Services Agency says travelers can expect longer processing times. Canadians are looking forward to a boost in tourism and the revenue that comes with it. The U.S. will open its border to Canadian citizens on August 21st.
Today in Washington, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says an agreement has been reached on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The $1 trillion proposal dedicates funds toward a host of areas, including bridges, roads, waterways, and broadband. The final passage of the vote is expected to take place tomorrow morning. The bill will then be sent for a vote in the House.
Still to come on Fox 13 News at 9, one Utah Native American tribe may soon turn to the cannabis industry. We'll take a look at what the tribe's plans are in a Fox 13 News exclusive.
Plus, you have to see the touching show of support for one boy who's really been going through a hard time on his first day of school.
And coming up, I'm looking at our smoke analysis right now, but more importantly, I'm looking at the forecast for tomorrow, what you can expect for air quality coming up.
I think it would be an economic boost for the state of Utah.
A Native American tribe in Utah would like to try a new business.
In a closed-door meeting with Utah Governor Spencer Cox, members of the Paiute Tribe say they want to grow and sell marijuana.
Fox 13's Ben Winslow has the story you'll only see here.
Governor Spencer Cox met privately with leaders of Utah's Native American tribes last week. They discussed issues and priorities and ways they can work together. The Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah's council tells Fox 13 they brought up a new enterprise, medical cannabis.
From growing to the cultivation sites to possibly having stores, but also what it could mean for a tribe.
The Paiute Tribe says it could be good, not only for their members, but also for cannabis access in rural Utah.
I think it would be good because we also have some of our elders that go out of state to get this. It would be a great opportunity for a lot of them. A lot of them, you know, are in rural areas which need it.
The Paiute Tribe consists of 5 bands across central and southern Utah. It's headquartered in Cedar City. Tribal leaders say not all of the bands are interested.
There are a few bands that would consider it, and I think it would be great economic boost for them or help them, and plus help those that need it.
Native American tribes across the country have started to legalize cannabis, but like states, they run the risk of federal prosecution. It is a lucrative business. In Nevada, tribes have opened recreational marijuana dispensaries with the support of the state.
That relationship is working. Their tribe is flourishing based off the economic revenue that is coming in, and because of that, they're able to offer more programs.
I'm told that in the closed-door meeting, members of the governor's cabinet offered to provide the tribe with more information on how to begin the process for cannabis licenses. The governor's office had no formal comment. When was the governor's reaction to that?
He seems supportive, but, I'm not really sure.
On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
She collapsed while hiking at Arches National Park over the weekend, but someone who she would never have expected came to her rescue. We'll explain when we come back.
Coming up at Sports, we'll hear from Rudy Gay on why he signed with the Jazz. Running back TJ Pudger is aiming for big things with the Utes, and the NBA Summer League continues. Jazz are playing tonight, and Mia's Keita looks good. The highlights are on the way.
Well, hello once again, everyone. So glad you could join us for Fox 13 News at 9 as we enter another smoky work week. Just the last week or so for Utah students before they head back to school statewide. Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan will have your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Tonight, we're hearing from a woman who fell at Arches National Park and was helped by a primetime TV star who was on a hike there with her family. Here's Fox 13's Aaron Cox.
Trying to make it. Delicate Arch has been on Minnie John's bucket list for as long as she can remember.
I'm obsessed with Utah, Arizona, and Nevada.
Minnie says her desire to hike up the arch was sheer absurdity because she's in her late 50s with diabetes and has an artificial knee.
Saved myself from having to hike up to all the other areas just because I wanted to hike up here.
Yet the hike was steeper than Minnie expected. And on Monday evening, about 15 minutes before she reached the arch, Minnie began to feel dizzy.
My husband and my son said, okay, let's just wait here. I said, no, it's getting late. You just go, I'll just sit here and I'll wait for you. So I sat there, I held my head in my hands, leaning forward because I just wanted to feel the breeze.
It's one of the last things Minnie remembers before she passed out, falling face forward, fracturing her nose.
The next thing I know, I am hearing a voice that sounded so familiar and just telling me, hello, ma'am, are you okay?
That was the voice of Julie Bowen, best known for her role as Claire Dunphy in the TV series Modern Family. Julie was hiking the trail with her sister, who just happens to be a doctor.
I realized no one's going to believe this story, so I said, can I have a picture? She bandaged me up really well, cleaned it up, just like the Good Samaritan. She did her thing, and she was so sweet. And they were so humble because neither one of them mentioned their names. So she said, you should be fine. She made sure that I had family to go down, take me back down.
A gesture and a trip Minnie will never forget.
If they weren't there at the right time, I could have, any scenario, I could have been lying there and bleeding. And whether they were stars or not, I think anyone and everyone who helped, would be the same. They would be the greatest.
Minnie says she passed out not because she didn't have enough water, but because she needed more electrolytes. She had just returned from the doctor when I spoke with her and had her stitches removed. She says her nose will be fully healed within 6 weeks. In Salt Lake County, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now that is a story. Here's another great one. The first day of school, of course, always special, memorable, but especially so for one Las Vegas boy in the 4th grade. A motorcade of Las Vegas Metro Police vehicles brought Noah Swanger to school this morning. There he is, all decked out, looking good. All of those officers were there for him because his dad, a fellow police officer, passed away from COVID-19 just 2 months ago. Noah's mom was touched by the incredible show of support.
It really means a lot to my whole family, but especially Noah and myself. So we appreciate it.
Such great support there. The officers have helped Noah cope with the loss of his father since he passed away. Noah says one day he wants to become a police officer.
Following Daddy's footsteps. Well, if you build it, they will come. That phrase was made famous in the 1992 Kevin Costner film, The Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I remember that. The New York Yankees and the Chicago White Sox actually will play this game this coming Thursday in the same Iowa cornfield where parts of the movie were filmed, and you can watch it right here on Fox 13.
But before the first pitch is even thrown out, some lucky Yankee fans from Iowa are getting a chance to snag some tickets to this ball game. The Rolling family has been Yankees fans for generations, and when the opportunity to win tickets to the Field of Dreams game came, they jumped at it. Each family member entered their names in the ticket lottery, and the oldest sibling, Ashley, won 2 tickets. She ended up creating a lottery of her own with the family to decide who'd go with her. Her younger brother, Will, won that drawing. He may be the biggest Yankee fan of the entire bunch, and for good reason. About a decade ago, Will met some of the Yankees in person as he battled non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
2.5 years of different chemos, surgeries, different treatments. Was declared clear and done with treatment. And now it's going on year 9 of being cancer-free.
Brother, sister, I know we had fair share of fights growing up too. So to see us going to a Yankees game now, looking back, I don't know, 15 years ago, it's kind of crazy to think that we're going to go to a game just the 2 of us.
Isn't that something? You can watch the Field of Dreams game Thursday night starting at 4 p.m. right here on Fox 13.
I grew up with brothers also. We went out of our way on family vacation once to go to the Field of Dreams. I'm looking forward to seeing that game, and I'm excited for that family. But I'm not excited about the smoke here in Utah. In fact, several states are dealing with some heavy wildfire smoke right now, but northern Utah currently has the worst of it. So northern half of the state, basically I-70 up towards the Idaho border is where we have our thickest smoke right now. The air quality forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday, mandatory action, and the orange level, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. But let's talk about the surface smoke forecast, because we will continue with smoke. This is the high resolution model, especially by tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. The Wasatch Mountains, south of I-80, all the way down towards Moab, Hanksville area. And we're going to continue with the smoke for eastern Utah and southern and central Utah, but that'll become Wednesday morning. We'll see a little bit of a break. It'll start to lessen by the middle of the week. So by Wednesday, we'll see less of it here across northern Utah, at least according to a lot of the future models. But I think that it's going to be a hard sell to say, hey, we snap our fingers, we wake up on Wednesday morning and it's perfectly clear. I think as long as we're continuing with many wildfires burning here across the region, that we'll have smoke at times on and off. So it'll improve middle of the week for northern Utah, but it'll probably get a little bit worse for central and southern Utah middle of the week. Satellite and radar has been pretty dry today. Had a few lightning strikes in eastern Uintas today, just north of the Vernal area. But let's talk about temps. We're going to have a warm up over the next couple of days. Right now, as we're getting ready for bed, it's about 70 to 80. St. George currently 96. Overnight temperatures are about 60 to 70 at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And then by tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be around 90 degrees. So Wasatch Front, not too bad, 5 p.m. tomorrow. But tomorrow afternoon, I want to show you Futurecast because we've got a chance for some thunderstorms by tomorrow afternoon to produce potentially some heavier rainfall early evening tomorrow into the overnight hours. So we'll keep our eye on that. So the flash flooding potential, Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park. That's where it's rated as possible for tomorrow. So stay weather aware. Check that information. First thing in the morning, hikes should be fine for most areas. And then by tomorrow afternoon, you'll want to definitely steer clear of those areas that are prone to flash flooding. By our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, so we've got drier than average in the northeast, wetter than average in the southeast, and then wetter than average here in the Intermountain West. Days 8 to 14, though, we're going to have drier conditions likely here for the west. So pretty close to normal for precipitation or trending drier here across Utah. So our 8 to 14 day outlook, not very promising for more storms, but St. George, you're going to be about 100 to 105 for the next couple of days. 7-day forecast. Better chance for those showers days 6 to 10, and that'll be by next Monday, a chance for some rain. And then we'll keep that haze through at least Wednesday. Then it'll start to loosen up, and it'll start to lessen up, and then we'll have those temperatures close to 100 degrees by Friday. So we'll get hot again, and we'll have above average temperatures as we end the week.
Well, the Utah Jazz had a plan this offseason, and they feel great about what they've accomplished in the last 2 weeks. They drafted the guy they wanted in Jared Butler, but the big move was bringing back Mike Conley. That was the first domino in free agency, and that led them to signing 2 veteran free agents, Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside. They also traded a second-round draft pick for Eric Pascal, who was on the All-NBA rookie team 2 seasons ago. A lot of other teams tried to get Gay and Whiteside, but they chose the Jazz with the hopes of winning a championship.
It's the culture. Ownership group is great. Coach Quinn is great. They really sold me on it. But even more than that is, I was, a lot of really, really good teams were coming after me and wanted me to be there. But I think this team was the team that had the most need for what I can do. I feel like I can be the greatest asset here. Salt Lake City to win a championship. That's it.
Jazz owners Ryan Smith and Wayne Wade watching the Jazz play the Suns in Las Vegas Summer League. Check out Doka Uzubuike, first on the defensive end, and watch him run the floor and gets rewarded with the alley-oop jam. Here's Trent Forrest working inside for 2 points. He's played well this summer, and one more from Uzubuike. The Jazz lead at 53-41 in the fourth quarter. Former Utah State Aggie Neemias Keita signed a 2-way contract with the Sacramento Kings yesterday. Tonight, second-round pick with a big throwdown for the Kings against the Hornets at the Summer League. He finished with 9 points in the Kings' win. The Utah football team has big shoes to fill at running back after the tragic death of Ty Jordan. Going into fall camp, head coach Kyle Whittingham says they would use 3 running backs unless one separated himself from the pack. In return of Micah Bernard and 2 transfers, Chris Curry from LSU and TJ Pledger from Oklahoma. Pledger spent the last 3 seasons with the Sooners, where he emerged as a dominant runner, but his coaches and he feel that he can bring his experience to meet his potential with the Utes.
Fire, passion, competitive spirit. He's somebody that speaks up. He's vocal. He's very elusive. He's twitched up. He's got good ball skills. He can protect, and he can also run for power. So just that experience, big game experience. He's been in a lot of big games at the University of Oklahoma.
It's no secret that Coach Ludd and Coach McDonald, have the formula to great running backs in the Pac-12, and I had to come be a part of that. One of the biggest attributes I'm ready to show this year in the Pac-12, my ability to, take it to the house and be that one-hit quitter. See those arms?
Oh,
Yeah?
And those legs.
I was seriously thinking the same thing. Like, wow, he's fit.
Pretty good.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back.
Take a look here. A Cedar City Police canine got quite the farewell today. He got one last send-off from a helicopter. There he is.
There.
Duco was with Cedar City PD for 7 years. That's a good dog.
Good boy, Duco. Now go retire. Quick Cast next is next.